Flynn receives the opening kickoff on his own 15-yard line and returns it to the cadets' 34-yard line. First and 10 cadets from their own 34-yard line. Flood under center. He takes the snap and gives the ball to Garrigy over the left side. Garrigy finds a big hole and gallops 34 yards all the way down to the St. Peter 25-yard line.
I was going to the University of Minnesota. I would go over to practice every day and watch from the outside on the north field of the grounds over there. One day Skip walked over to me and I figured he was going to let me have it, and he said, "Look, if you're going to come to practice every day, come around on this side and why don't you help us?" Because it was just Skip and Jack. There were just two coaches.
I was an assistant coach on the varsity, and Skip McMahon asked me to go down and coach the B squad. And I did that, and that's where I ran into the Gold Dust twins, Barstow and Cerisi, because where one went, the other one, you could always find the other one. But that B squad beat Cretin. And that's the first time anybody had done that in years, anybody in the conference. Then I was an assistant to Bill Ridley at O'Shaughnessy Stadium, again, in a game against Cretin's varsity, and they were still undefeated against all the Central Catholic Conference teams. We beat them that night at St. Thomas College, under the lights, and the helmets went above the lights when that one ended. Well, the turning point was literally, we had not moved yet, but we were just about to move. And that was a big thing when we moved out to Mendota Heights, because there we had all kinds of room. Bill Ridley was the new head coach, and he had put in a rule, he was also the principal, which came in handy, that every freshman had to have a fall activity, okay? And of course, football was one of the three.
So in 1966 was my first official job at the academy as a paid assistant coach. It was also my first year of teaching. And I inherited a team that only had 9 players on it. They were the ones who were freshmen on the previous B squad, didn't win a game, and didn't score a point. But I was a sophomore and freshman teacher. I taught the algebra, geometry, and some Phi Ed. I had all the sophomores and freshmen in front of me sometime during the day, and boy, I recruited like mad. And by the end of that season, I had 70 players on that team. Well, I learned a lot from Bill Ridley. He was my mentor and my model. In 1968, Bill Ridley's last year, they were 8-0. They were very good. That's some of the guys that came to me in 1969. Ridley used to say, "Give me my 11 best players, line them up on the sideline, I'll just push them out onto the field and let them figure it out for themselves, and they will win." It's true. That's what happened in '75.
The '75 season team, we knew we were going to be good. You have 2 classes there that had been undefeated as freshmen. I think lost 1 game as sophomores. You got a group of seniors who are really good leaders, and a number of them had a lot of varsity time. So, to be able to pick amongst those juniors who were, war tested, if you would, during games and game tested. And you got a couple of sophomores that filled in the spots, with Joey Slater and Tim Hansen. Both of those guys on the defense. I mean, we knew we were going to be a good football team.
The pressure that was put on from undefeated seasons that we were going after, I think it started on our first game when the whole varsity team came over and lined up on the sidewalk and basically made a tunnel for us to go down to the field. That was just showing that there was expectations that we as freshmen needed to stand up to, and really take this seriously as far as academy football.
When I think back about the coaching staff led by Jerry, who was the head coach, the '75 season was if not his best coaching job that I witnessed, then right up there in the top 2 or 3. And part of why he was so effective that year is he understood the culture of the team and he didn't get in the way of it. Jerry's real skill, though, was team preparation. He knew how to prepare a team. We were so well prepared for every game. Every little nuance that would come up, Jerry and the coaching staff had prepared us well, and they came up with their plan whenever they had their meeting on Saturday, Sunday, whenever they planned for the next game, and they executed it to a T. They each, Paul Maloney and Earl Wetzel and Mike Rongich, they all knew what they were responsible for. They did it, and Jerry kind of oversaw it, but the magic of that year was Jerry didn't get in the way of the players establishing the culture and fostering their own leadership and holding each other accountable and challenging each other and supporting each other and celebrating one another. And Jerry had an intuitive sense of when to step in and when to step back. And that was, as I grew older and in my own coaching career, that's something I always marveled at, that I thought he was masterful at during the 1975 season.
Yeah, I loved playing for Jerry, my brother-in-law, even though at times he was a bit tough on me. I remember we were, I think, 9-0 and getting ready for the state playoffs, and he was yelling at me in practice because I wasn't lined up in the right place in the huddle. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, Jerry, we're an undefeated team. I'm having a pretty good year. Is where I stand in the huddle all that important? Now, of course, you never question Coach Jerry Brown. I just said, yep, Coach, got it. Thank you. Yep, my bad. And we moved on.
Well, I knew from the experience of '74 how difficult it was to win the whole thing. Frankly, we ran into some bad luck in Centennial game. Thought it was a bad call that cost us that game and an undefeated season and a good shot at the state championship. So in '75, I just knew we had a great core of guys coming back. Our goal was to win the state, and we talked about it. And we expected to have a good shot at it. So that's what we were aiming for from day one.
The culture of that team was really established and sustained by the non-primary guys. People like Steve Abbott, our manager. I mean, holy cow, Stevie had as much impact on the culture of that team as anybody. Tom Paulson, guys like Eddie Keeger and Trip Hook, Scott Wilhelmy, John Doyle, John Crumley, Doug Wardell, they were so important in establishing the cohesiveness and the grit that we played with. Those of us that got in the paper and stuff like that, we got our flowers. But that team was really sustained by the non-primary guys, if you will. And I think that was part of the magic of that team.
Well, I was a sophomore in 1975, and we started the football season on August 12th. And I was returning starting quarterback from the freshman team. Now I'm a sophomore, and I fully expected to compete with the varsity players for the first week of practice, win sprints and calisthenics, and then be on the sophomore team. Well, what happened was on the third day of that week, Ed Bifolk was moved to quarterback. And about 15 minutes later, I joined Joe Slater and Andy Engel on the varsity. And then Tim Hansen will be called up that week as well. Keeping things in perspective, we were just high school kids. It meant the world to us when we were out there. We were focused, we were having fun, we were working hard. But it was just a small part of a long, long day, to be honest with you. But it was great fun.
So as we were beginning to prepare for the start of the season, and Anoka was the first team on the schedule, I was excited. I mean, that was a great time back in those days because you could play carefree, free and loose. I mean, the guys that were with me were big, were experienced, were fast, and there wasn't really a whole lot of expected of me, I didn't think. And I was excited. And when we got to that stadium, and Jerry Brown had talked about how the crowd's going to be crazy and it'll be packed in, it's kind of a sunken field. And when we got there, I was like a kid at Disney World. It was exciting. There's just tons and tons of people there. And then once the game started, honestly, I mean, everything just slowed down. It was just, things would happen just as the coaches told they were. We had to respond just as we were taught to do, and it was a blast. It was just an absolute blast playing that game.
What I remember about the Burnsville game, a couple of things. They were really good. and they were another really big school, and we were on their field. And they were openly talking about targeting me. I mean, I could hear them, let's get 89, let's get 89, we're gonna take them down. Jimmy Boland had a really good game, I remember that. Bob Slater had kind of taken over the leadership of the defense. He made a gutsy call right down by our goal line. I think it was 4th down, and we stopped him.
Our third game was against Centennial at the college at St. Thomas, and that was the first time that I got into a game other than on special teams, which was an unbelievable thrill. And playing at the college was so awesome. I mean, that was our home field. Such a great place to play on Friday night there, and everybody in the world's there.
So getting ready for the Centennial game, you know, they had beaten us the year before and kind of spoiled our chance at a state championship. So they were not as good as the year before, and they weren't up to us that year. So,
You know, I remember the road trip down to Lourdes, and probably even more so than the road trip and the actual game was kind of the hype before it. I mean, you don't get that kind of a hype for a B squad game or a freshman game or a grade school game. So just kind of, you know, hearing stuff on the radio or reading stuff in the newspapers about, you know, #1 team from Rochester, #1 team from the metro area here, going head to head, it was kind of exciting. And you get the actual kickoff, and again, the game slows down. Better talented team, I think, prevailed, and we played a very, very game, if memory serves me right.
Yeah, so Lourdes being #1, that was obviously added motivation. And by that time, we felt like we were the best Class A team in the state, and we had something to prove. And we went down there and we proved it. You know, 42-6 is a heavy beating, and you know, Rochester had some mistakes, but good teams take advantage of those mistakes. You know, the Cretan game and what goes on during game week out at the academy for that game is like nothing else. And that game turned out to be a war. That senior class at Cretan, they were loaded. They were a good, talented football team. But in the end, it was the victory that we were looking for, 12-3, and it was decisive.
Yeah, we're at Benilde, and you know, they were pretty good, and I think it was early in the game, and I think Mike and I kind of made the play up a little bit in the huddle. Instead of having the back go up the sidelines, I faked like I was turning around, and then I went up the sidelines and fluttered through the perfect pass, and I think it was 60-70 yards. And we had a defense that allowed us to try stuff like that, because our defense, we just didn't give up points. Hill Murray was always good. They had some really great athletes and good coaching, and so we knew they were going to be tough. I remember the game because I think it was the only game my senior year that I got yelled at by Jerry, because I lost contain on a play that I should have made the tackle on, and it ended up going for some distance, and he let me know at halftime that I needed to play better, let's say it that way. But again, you know, our defense basically played good. We had to stop a kid named Whistler. He was a really good athlete and a back, and we shut him down, and they had a pretty good quarterback. And again, you know, the defense was the name of the game, and we scored enough on offense. We played well to win.
The only game left after that was De La Salle. I think that was our last game of the season. We knew D was down a bit that year, and so, you know, Jerry did what a great coach would do. We could have dictated the score against De La Salle. We beat them 14-6. And then knowing that we had that undefeated season, we knew we were going to go Burnsville and in the first round of the playoffs, and we knew they'd be hungry. And that was a war. Burnsville was a great football team, and you know, when they take us to double overtime, you know, the good news is we came out 6-0 on the top end of that game. But that was probably our toughest game of the season, by far. You know, and that could have gone either way. Fortunately for us, it went our way, and then the rest is history. You know, we take Hibbing out after that. Up in Hibbing, again, we got to go on the road. Hibbing's undefeated. They got a good football team, and the one thing I remember most about that game was we had a scout who was down scouting St. Peter, And when the Hibbing scouts heard that they were down 10-0 at halftime, they packed up their books and left. They said, we don't know how to play from behind. That game's over.
In those 11 games, only 5 teams scored on us. Burnsville was one of them. They were very good. They were a very good team. They scored a touchdown in the Burnsville game. Rochester Lourdes scored a touchdown on us, but it was against our bench. And De La Salle, who was 0-8, scored a touchdown on us to make the score 14-7 in the 9th game of the year. So only 3 teams scored touchdowns on that team, and only one of them was against the first team.
My memory of the championship game and sort of the challenge that St. Peter posed to us, they got the first punch in. I mean, they came out of the gates quick, and they hung 14 in the first half on us. And St. Peter was a ground attack. They ran that wishbone offense, and they were fast. Their speed took some adjustments.
They were good, and they ran the option. I think it was a split T option, if I remember right. They had 2 really good backs. So they were tough, and you can't practice against that. I mean, you can, but you can't simulate it like the way they were so fast and executed so well. We were behind, I think, 14-7 right before the half. And so in the huddle, Flutter gets down on his knees. He goes, okay, they've seen this a bunch of times. What you're going to start with the post and then break to the corner. So just run a post corner, and hopefully they suck in on it. So I ran the post corner, Flutter threw kind of a fluttery ball, and I had to go up for it. And unfortunately, the 2 St. Peter defensive backs ran into each other and kind of knocked each other off the ball. So I was able to jump up and get the ball, ran down the sidelines. So we scored, and so we were only down 14-13. We were still down at half. People forget that.
I think the underlying theme of the championship game, as well, probably even more so the second half, was that there was never any panic. There was just a calmness of leadership that came out of, I'll say in the field is Kevin Berg, but it was also the other seniors and some of the juniors that had been around. It was like, don't worry, we got this, we'll be all right. Coaching staff was like, you know what, let's just keep on doing what's gotten us here all year. Let's play good, solid defense. Let's run the ball at them, run the ball at them, and run the ball at them. And you know what? There was never a panic, I think, that I could ever sense. And I think a lot of that is a testament to the leadership that came from both players and the coaching staff.
We shut them down pretty well, though, on defense. And Joe and I oftentimes just played little games. We'd switch sides without the coaches knowing, and we'd kind of pick up things in their blocking assignments. And what seemed to work for us was we'd play Joe on Tim McGough's side, because Tim could absorb 2 blockers pretty well, and he was still effective. And, you know, I just was able to take the base block a lot easier. I was bigger than Joe. I had a lot more body mass, so we were just trying to protect him a little bit from having that guard come out and get him on a base block. So he and I just kind of used our intuition to decide when we were going to flip sides and when we'd stay home.
Fortunately, scored 1 more touchdown, and we were able to hold on to the ball for most of the half and won the state championship. We earned it. Those 3 teams we beat at the end of the season were really good. Really good. But we were pretty good too.
To watch that game and that clock come down, you know, to ticking off, and we knew we were going to win the state championship. The craziest part of that whole thing was the fans emptied out of the stadium and onto the field before the clock had ran out. So the refs had to stop the game, get everyone off the field, and we had to snap the ball 1 more time. It was an outstanding feeling, and to know that you were a part of a team that had a perfect season, there's nothing better than that.